Hey everybody, this is Dan. Today I wanted to share a chess puzzle that I just came upon today. I was teaching a student using a book by Yasser Seirawan. The book is called Winning Chess Tactics. And this was the first chess tactics book I read, and I think it's really a good one. It's co-written with Jeremy Silman. And it starts out by introducing you to just basic tactical ideas, but there's also plenty of material in there that I think would be of value to intermediate and possibly even advanced chess players. So it's rich with a lot of really cool stuff. And this puzzle was one of the ones, one of the more difficult ones included in the tests that were in the book. So anyway, here it's white to move, and it's a puzzle in which white can actually force checkmate. So before I say anything about how white goes about that, feel free to pause the video and try to work out the solution. If you even want to, set up the position on a board just to see if you can figure it out. It's all forced moves. So white actually makes moves that kind of give black no option but to respond to white's moves. And of course, those kinds of moves are usually, but not always, checks. So anyway, pause if you need to, and press play when you're ready, and we'll go over how white should proceed here. Okay, so the first move is tough to spot, but once you see it, it makes a lot of sense. The first move is queen to g5 check, and this is a really cool queen sacrifice that forces black to answer by taking the queen with the bishop. There are no other legal moves. So this is the definition of a forcing move. White has left black with just one option, so black takes the queen. And now, white can take back with either pawn, and I believe there's no difference. Correct me if you find something when you're analyzing this position, but as far as I could tell, both pawn moves are equally effective. So let's say that, for example, white takes back with the h-pawn, captures on g5, and this is also a check. So once again, black is left with just one response. So another very forcing move from white forces black to move the king down to h5. And now you can see that white would really like to play pawn to g4, which would checkmate black's king, but the black queen on c3 is pinning that pawn. So the pawn on g3 cannot legally move. Okay. So what white does is play a tricky move here that forces the black queen to move, or else forces black to be checkmated. What white plays here is rook to h8. Okay, and what you see here is that white is threatening another checkmate by capturing the pawn on h7, which would be checkmate. But if black decides, okay, well that rook is a problem, I want to capture it. So if black takes the rook, queen captures on h8, then that just allows the checkmate on g4. So here's one checkmate. The other slightly better continuation for black, but still definitely not good, would be to just check on c8 with the queen, but all this really does is delay the inevitable. So once white recaptures the queen, then black needs to prevent the pawn to g4 move, so black can play pawn to f5. And what white can do here is, rather than just capture en passant, because actually here you could capture the f-pawn with the g-pawn, okay? But in that case, it looks like you give the king a little bit of mobility, and it's not really a forcing move. So rather than do that, white can move the rook over to h8, and this threatens the checkmate again. By the rook captures pawn on h7 would be checkmate. And you'll see here black has only two legal moves, both of which lose. One is if you just move the pawn to b2, then the rook captures on h7, and that's mate. The other is pawn to h6, but even then the rook just captures that pawn, since the pawn on g5 protects the rook, and that would also be mate. So all of these lines lead to a checkmate, and there's nothing black can do to prevent the checkmate. You'll see that if white captures with the other pawn, it looks like it's really the same situation. F-pawn captures on g5, king down to h5, then rook over to h8, then either queen takes rook followed by pawn to g4 checkmate, or queen to c8 check followed by rook takes queen, followed by pawn to f5, followed by rook to h8, and an inevitable checkmate after either pawn to b2 and then checkmate, or pawn to h6 and then another checkmate. So all of these lines lead to checkmate, and that I think is a really cool queen sacrifice. And once the queen sacrifice is made, everything kind of unfolds naturally from there. So the two tricky ideas are just to sacrifice the queen in the first place, and then the second tricky idea is to play this rook move to h8, threatening a second checkmate and forcing black to abandon the third rank, which allows, if black abandons the third rank by capturing the rook, then that allows the g-pawn to move, which is checkmate. So it forces the black queen away from the pin on the g3 pawn. So there's just too many threats to meet, and black is not able to do anything but be checkmated. So anyway, hope you like this. Really enjoy sharing these videos with you guys, and please feel free to share this channel with your friends or anybody you know who might be interested. Just do this for fun, so glad there's people out there watching. So alright, take care, and I'll share another video soon. Any comments or feedback would be much appreciated. Thanks. Bye.